In this lesson, we're going to take the basic concepts of local storage that we've learned and apply them to an actual project. So here you can see I have created a form. Let's quickly view that. And while I'm thinking of it, why don't we take the submit button and put it on its own line? So here I'll say input type equals submit. That should also have a display of block, and then I'll push it down. Okay, and lastly, let's take a look at our form. We have a simple label, we have a text area, and a submit button. This is all very simple and very common. So let's figure out our game plan, and we're just going to put this all on the same page to keep it simple. Now the game plan is, I see a few steps here. The first is I want to detect support, and then while the user is writing in the text area, every 5 seconds I want to save it. There we are. And then finally, when the page subsequently loads, if there is local storage available, I want to set the default value of that text area equal to its value. There we go. All right, so now that we've charted out what we're going to do, let's get started on this. First step, I need to detect whether the browser supports local storage right here. Well, we learned the manual way, but now I can simply do modernizer.local storage. Now remember, with modernizer, we don't do the capital S, we keep that lowercase. Next, number 2, while the user is writing into the text area, every 5 seconds I want to save that value. So we need to do 2 things here. We need to grab the text area from the DOM and listen for when it's focused. Because remember, we don't want to be saving the text to local storage when they're not even on that comment anymore. We only want to do that while they are focused and typing into that text area. And next, it sounds like every 5 seconds we need to set an interval so that we can save that. All right, well, let's get started on this. If modernizer.local storage, and I'll paste this comment within here. Right at the top, we'll say var comment, and we'll say document.getElementById. And in this case, we're looking for the text area with an ID of comment. So we'll bring that in right there. And then finally, because we are going to be working with JavaScript set interval, we want to be able to clear that, so we need to store it in a variable. I'll declare that up here, update interval. And that'll do it for our variables. Now we need to listen for when the text area is focused. So we'll say get the comment ID and add an event listener. And shortly we'll redo this in jQuery if that's what you prefer. And we're going to listen for when they focus on it. And when they do, we'll execute this function here. And all I want to do is say update interval. And we are going to run JavaScript set interval function. Now this will accept an action. What are we going to do? And then the second parameter is how long do we wait between each one? And we'll set that to 5 seconds, which declared in milliseconds would be 5,000. So that means in 5 seconds, I want you to execute the code within here. Then wait 5 seconds again and execute it again. It's a timer. Every 5 seconds, it will do something. And in this case, we want to save local storage, and I'm going to give it a key of comment, and I'm going to make that equal to the value that's in the text area here. Now we know we've accessed the text area via this comment variable. And we can access the text or the value of the text area by doing .value. Okay, so now let's try this out. I'm going to console log focused, and this will see if this function runs when we focus on the input. We'll open up Chrome Developer Tools, browse to the console, and now I will reload the page and click on it, and sure enough, we are being focused. So that's running just fine. Let's see if local storage is being saved. So once again, reload, and this time I'm going to go to Resources and Local Files. And we'll get rid of that comment. And now I'm going to write, this is the beginning of my comment. And if we did everything correctly, every 5 seconds, the value of this text area should be saved. So I'll leave and come back, and there it is. Now I will add some more. I'm going to work on a long comment, and every 5 seconds, if we come back, that is being saved. Isn't that neat? And isn't that so easy? So now a couple of things though. We are listening for when the user focuses, but then we never listen for when they leave. So for example, we've set an interval here, but we haven't cleared it, so it's going to run indefinitely. Running. Reload the page. Here's my console. I'm going to type something. And if we wait 5 seconds, we'll see that it shows up right there. But even if I click off, I'm done. I'm going to read the rest of the article or do something else. You'll see represented right here, that'll go to number 3, that it's continuing to run. And that's wasteful because you're saving the exact same value to local storage every single time. So that means we need to add another listener for when the user blurs. And blur means when the user focuses away, tabs off, or clicks off. And we'll do that right here. Comment.addEventListener blur. And in that case, and by the way, because we're using addEventListener, we should pass whether it should bubble. And I'll set that to false. Once again, if you're a jQuery user, we'll modify this for jQuery at the end of the lesson. Now, when they blur off of it, let's clear interval. And clear interval needs to know a reference. Which interval are we referring to? We called ours update interval. There we go. So now the next step is when the page subsequently loads, detect storage and apply the value to the text area. And because we are taking kind of a procedural approach, I'll just place this right up here. When page subsequently loads, detect the storage. So we'll say if local storage dot comment, then if you found it, apply the value to the text area. Comment.value equals local storage dot comment. And that'll do it. So if you'd like to shorten this, maybe if you like short code, you could also do, let's say, make this a Boolean, local storage dot comment. And then we're going to exit comment.value equals local storage dot comment. This will be the exact same thing if you'd prefer that to be on one line though. And the basic idea is the same. This side will only execute if this side is true. All right, let's try it out. I'm going to go to resources, local files, and I want to start from scratch, so I will clear that. Now I'm going to reload the page. Here is my comment. And if we do everything right, again, every 5 seconds, that's going to be saved. Except, whoops, that's not working. Let's view the console, and we have an unexpected token false on line 38, and it looks like I left off a comma right there. Okay, so let's reload this page, and now it has detected that I typed gibberish into the text area the last time, and it saved it for me. So here is my comment. I'm going to wait just a few seconds or so, and if we go back to resources, local files, that's been saved. So now let's say, oh no, the page died on me. I need to reload it. I bring it back up and there it is. So I will type some more, and then I'll wait a few seconds, type some more. And the only way that the text I type will not save will be if I close it before that next interval occurs, which means worst case scenario, I lose 5 seconds of typing. But now that's been saved. If I reload the page, right here, we detect, has there been anything saved? If so, set the value of the text area equal to what we saved in local storage. Reload the page, and that's been saved. Isn't that really easy to use? Now, let's switch this over to jQuery if you'd prefer that. Otherwise, go ahead and move on to the next lesson. But if you prefer jQuery, that's cool too. In this case, we will say right here, rather than add event listener, I'm going to remove this and say jQuery, get the element with an ID of comment, and we're going to listen for when they focus, and then we will execute this function. We don't need this third bubble parameter. And then we're also going to add this blur event listener. So I will get rid of all of that as well. .on. So this is a little difficult to read. Maybe I'll put this on its own line like so. And then I'll put this one on its own line as well. I'll also get rid of the false bubble statement. And because we are referencing the jQuery object version of the element with an ID of comment, we can remove that entirely and just make that var update interval. And then lastly, we're going to update the interval local storage.comment, and we can access that variable in jQuery by doing jQuery this.val. However, one thing here is this no longer refers to what you might think it does. After, right here, we listen for when the user focuses on the comment ID, this is going to refer to that comment ID that was focused. However, then we run the setInterval function, we pass an anonymous function. Now within here, this is not going to refer to comment anymore, it refers to the DOM window, and that's really not helpful. So at this point, we are wrapping the window object in jQuery and trying to access the value attribute. That's not going to work at all. So why don't we create a new variable right up here? And you've probably seen this before, var that equals this, or it's fairly common in the jQuery world for var jQuery this to equal this. And lastly, we will update this value to be the jQuery this version so we can refer to the comment rather than the window. Now at this point though, we don't have a jQuery object, so we can't access val because that's a jQuery method. So I'm going to make sure that I wrap this within the jQuery object. And that looks pretty good to me. So let's view this in the browser. I've reloaded the page and cleared the local storage. Let's try it out. Here is my comment. Give it just a few seconds to save and click off. Reload the page and it's still there. Here's some more. Here is a new paragraph. Here is another. Okay, that's been a few seconds. Reload. And you can see it cut off right there because it only runs every 5 seconds. But that's really not a big deal. They can add that on. Or if you'd prefer, you can increase it to every 2 or 3 seconds. But I think 5 is enough. Okay, that will do it for this lesson. So I hope this is appealing to you. My favorite thing is that the local storage API is incredibly simple. We're dealing with just a couple methods and a couple ways to assign key value pairs. So in the next lesson, I'm going to show you a cool feature where you can announce updates so that you can even update other tabs. So for example, if this tab is open in multiple browsers, when we make a change here, we can make an announcement that will update the text in this tab as well. It's pretty cool, and I'll show you it in the next lesson.